everybody, I'm Elizabeth from OurPaleoFamily.com, and we are on Whole30 Day 20. Yippee! I feel like the end is in sight. I've got just a little over 10 more days to go, and I'm really excited today because I just found out that I have been accepted to the Institute for Functional Medicine Health Coaching Academy. So as much as I would love to actually go to school and become a functional medicine physician, at this point in my life, that's a little too much training, and I don't want to work full time because I still have some raising of my children to do. But there is this really new sort of career, the health coach, and I won't go into detail on it, but the Institute for Functional Medicine has a coaching academy where they will train health coaches, and I'm going to start their program, their next class. So I'm super excited about that. So we're going to celebrate tonight, and normally we would celebrate by going out for ice cream or something yummy like that, having some sort of delicious sweet treat, but we're not going to do that because of our old friend Whole30. And instead we're going to play a game. So we'll have just a family fun night. Finally, fall has arrived in my neck of the woods, and it's going to be lovely for a walk tonight. So we're going to take a walk and play a game, and that'll be our family fun night. And maybe my husband and I might even watch a movie later if I can get him to take a break from putting together all these videos. So tonight, day 20, this potato is okay, but it is looking like it's a little bit old. It's kind of white in the middle. It's at the end of its lifespan, so we're going to cook it. Tonight we're making fish sticks and sweet potato fries, and then just miscellaneous vegetables that are left hanging around in my fridge. So we have a few roasted veggies from last night and some green beans from earlier in the week and some salad greens. Tomorrow is grocery shopping day, so we're coming down to the end of all the fresh vegetables. So we'll just finish everything up tonight. So I'm just tossing these around in some avocado oil. Sometimes I use my bacon dripping. That is really good. You can use any of your high heat oils. I actually have a container of coconut oil that's almost empty. I should have probably used that just to use it up, but I didn't think about it until just now. So I have two medium-sized sweet potatoes. You probably saw them laying there. When I know that my purpose is fries, I try to find sweet potatoes that are more straight, long, sort of uniformly shaped. Sometimes you can't find them like that, but I try. So I actually had a couple that were shaped nicely, and I'm just going to sprinkle them with salt and pepper and then put them in the oven. So a little salt. In my opinion, sweet potato fries need a lot of salt, but we'll just do it in layers. So we'll just do an 1/8 of a teaspoon now, I'll flip them around, and I'll do another 1/8 of a teaspoon as I turn them. So these are okay on the Whole30. Gosh, you know what? I assume they are. Like, I know you couldn't order them in a restaurant because they're going to be cooked in who knows what kind of oil. But to cook these at home, it'll be the same thing as like a roasted sweet potato. I've just made it in a different form. So I think I'm pretty sure that's okay. So my oven is coming up to 425, and you know what? It's almost there. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in. So the nice thing about these sweet potato fries is that, you know, you don't want to bake them at 300 or, you know, low temperature like 325, something like that. You want to bake them at a higher temperature, but you can use whatever other temperature you need your oven to be set to for your other recipes. So my fish stick recipe calls for the oven to be set to 425. So that's perfectly fine for my sweet potatoes. I'll be able to cook everything together, which is really nice. I would love to have two ovens, but I don't. I just have the one. So what I'm doing is I'm getting ready to make the base for my fish sticks. So I have one sort of medium-sized yellow squash. I'm just going to shred that. I'll put my shredding disc in. Okay, super duper duper fast. Certainly don't have to have a food processor for this, but it sure does make it fast. So I'm going to take that out because I'm done with that. You notice this one little piece was left at the top, so I kind of push that to the side so I can get my blade gun in there. And I'm not going to waste it. I'm just going to kind of roughly chop it and toss it in. Because now everything else for the filling of my fish sticks, I guess the base of my fish sticks, is going to go in there. Okay, so everything else is going to go in my fish stick filling. My recipe is written for salmon because that's what I like better. Canned salmon, or goodness, you could use fresh salmon if you wanted to, but that's expensive. The genesis of this recipe way back when was kid-friendly or just family-friendly and inexpensive. So I was doing a Facebook Live on is paleo affordable, and so I made this recipe. And I made it with tuna and salmon. I've made it a lot of times, and I just prefer it with salmon. Salmon is a little more moist. Tuna will be kind of dry, a little drier, but I'll show you how we're going to combat that at the end. Okay, so I needed 15 ounces just because that is typically the size of a can of salmon. So I have 3 5-ounce cans of tuna instead. And I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. You could certainly throw in a couple cloves of fresh garlic if you would rather. It's perfectly fine. A couple green onions, or you could use onion powder again. So I've got these 2 green onions. I'm just going to roughly chop them. The fibrous nature of these guys means that they won't always chop up really well in my food processor, so I'm just giving them a little bit of a head start. And then my squash is in there. I need a few tablespoons of almond flour. This is a 2 tablespoon measure, so I'm going to put in 4 to start with, and then I might need to add a little bit more. And then I'm also going to add some cassava flour. Let's see. Almond flour, yeah. Arrowroot or cassava, and I'm going to use cassava tonight because I usually use arrowroot. So we will use cassava just because variety is the spice of life. And then a tablespoon of fresh dill, and frankly I have this dill left over from, let's see, what did I use it for? Making my ranch dressing. And I need to use it up. It's going to go bad. It's already kind of not as bright green as it had been. So I'm not even going to measure. I'm just going to put all of it in. Golly, they really filled this up with a lot of big stem. Sometimes I feel like you get a little better value than others with these herbs. Okay. So in they all go. Whoops. Fresh dill, you could use dry dill, that is perfectly fine. Again, I just had that in the fridge, didn't want to waste it. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then black pepper, which if you're following the autoimmune protocol, you could leave that out if you needed to. So a few grinds, and I'm pretty sure I have an egg in there. Did I miss that? And an egg. And we're just going to process all this together. And I'll need to sort of scrape down the sides a little bit. Let me turn it off. Make sure everything is getting mixed in nicely. Take this off of here. Just scoot this to the side. Alright, I'm going to take it out, put it in this bowl, just so I can get to it more easily. bruised the palm of my hand somehow, and it's really irritating. It hurts when I drive. Just now it was hurting when I was holding that handle a certain way. Not very fun. Okay, so I have my filling. You just kind of stir it around. Make sure everything is incorporated well. Okay. It's a little wet, and so I think I'm going to add just a little bit more almond flour because I need it to be able to hold together. It's this fine balance because we don't want to get the filling too dry because then they'll be dry when we eat them. But I want it to hold together to hold its shape. Okay, so there's my filling. And now I don't think I need this anymore, but I'm just going to set it to the side. I put a wet paper towel under my cutting board because it kept like spinning around on me. It was driving me nuts. Oh, my phone went off. Okay, so now I need to make the breading for my fish sticks, or the coating. So I'm going to use 4 tablespoons of almond flour and a couple more tablespoons of the cassava flour. And some salt and lemon zest. And we're going to turn around and use, I washed this lemon already, it's kind of wet. We're going to turn around and use the lemon juice in our sauce. The lemon zest actually adds a really nice flavor. Don't skip this unless you can't find a lemon. You used to be able to buy dried lemon zest in the herbs, like spice aisle in the grocery store. I haven't looked for it for a really long time, so I don't know if you can anymore. But you used to be able to buy it that way. I can't imagine it would have nearly as much flavor as fresh, but I don't know. I've not used it. I just remember seeing it years ago. So you could add more pepper to this if you wanted. I'm choosing not to. You could add different vegetables for the moisture component. You of course could use zucchini. That's practically the same thing as a yellow squash. You could use mushrooms. You could leave it out altogether if you wanted to, but not only does it add moisture, it adds a vegetable. And we're always trying to add more vegetables, right? So why not? All right, so I am going to, instead of doing sticks tonight, I'm going to do nuggets. And I'm going to just, oops, I used the wrong side. I'm going to use my scooper right in there. We'll just do a few at a time. And then I'm going to gently toss these guys around in the breading. And then get them on my sheet pan, which my sheet pan is coated with a coconut oil spray. And you can see it right there. It's that silver bottle. And it's from Sprouts Market. And I'm pretty sure I've seen one at Whole Foods as well that is simply the oil. There are no other additives to it. So that's a good one. And what I would normally do is spray my pan, even though that's a nonstick foil on there. I would spray my pan and then I would also spray the tops, but it just ran out. So I'm going to simply ignore the spraying the tops part. And as we flip our nuggets around, they'll get some oil on the bottoms. I may need to add a little bit more to my sheet pan, but I'll just see how that goes. It's not a problem to add it halfway through the cooking process. So these are tender. You need to be gentle with them, but they're staying together. You see I'm kind of tossing them back and forth to get any extra breading off. You don't want a super heavy coating on there. And like last night when we did our pecan crusted red snapper, which was amazing. I'm sorry for you autoimmune protocol people if you have not been able to reintroduce nuts yet, but for when you can reintroduce nuts, put that at the top of your list. It's really, really good. With that breading process, we did the 3 step breading. Remember, we used arrowroot, and then we did an egg and coconut oil wash, and then we had the crispy breading of the nuts and other flavorings on the outside. So that produced a little bit of a thicker coating, and this is a thinner coating. And both are good, but with these being so kind of fragile, it would be difficult to go through all those steps of breading with this particular recipe. So my oven is at 425. My sweet potatoes have been in there for about 12 minutes, and it should work out that these little fish nuggets need to cook for the same amount of time as my sweet potatoes have left. So these need about 20 to 25 minutes. So we'll do about 10 minutes, and then I'll check on them and flip them over, and then about 10 more minutes, 10 to 12 more minutes. I want them to get a little bit browned, and you know, it's canned tuna, so the only thing in there that isn't cooked is that egg. That egg was raw, but everything else is cooked through. So we got this one, and then I'm going to use my rubber spatula and get the rest of it out because I'm not going to waste it. What I'll do is I'll make a sampler one for myself. It'll be a little smaller, and it'll cook faster because it's smaller. And I will taste it and see if they all need a little more salt or something. I can smell the sweet potatoes already. They smell really good. So I haven't taken the time to, you know, reshape these back into balls. I've just, as the shape has formed from my handling of them, that's how I stuck them on the tray. So I'm going to wash my hands and get these in the oven, and I'll be back to make our sauce. Okay, so now this is what I was alluding to when I said we were going to combat any possible dryness by using that we might experience with having tuna instead of salmon. And we're going to make a sauce. And of course, the base of our sauce is our Whole30 approved mayonnaise. And I have about 1/3 of a cup left in here, so that's what I'm going to use. You can see it's nice and yellow. My olive oil that I used to make it had a little yellow hue to it, and also I add Dijon mustard and lemon juice. I actually made this with an egg that someone gave us from their backyard chickens, and so it had a really nice, rich, golden yellow yolk. So to flavor, normally I would make a remoulade or tartar sauce type sauce with relish, and the relish I use most is a zucchini relish that I make with the vegetables that grow in my garden. And this is a way with the Whole30 in which I have cheated in the past, and I don't consider it a terrible cheat, which is why I would just continue on and say, oh, I'm doing the whole thing, but in fact it was a cheat because there's sugar in that relish. And I know that when I get one off of my shelf that I canned, say 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it had regular cane sugar in it. The batch I made this year, I used less sugar and I used maple syrup. So it's a non-processed sugar. However, it's still sugar, and we can't have any sugar on the Whole30. And I'm not cheating. I'm doing my very best to not cheat through this whole thing. And so I've got to come up with some other way to make a flavorful sauce, and it's not going to have that relish in it. But I have a cucumber, and so I'm just going to grate a little bit of cucumber into my sauce. And you could use celery, you could use cucumber, you could use jicama. There are all sorts of different crispy vegetables like this that would add a nice little component. And it's watery, so I don't want to add too much, but I do want to get a little bit of that texture in my sauce and that sort of fresh flavor. So that's just barely a tablespoon of some fresh grated cucumber, and actually you could grate an onion in there. That would be really good too. So I have my mayonnaise, some fresh lemon juice, some cucumber, and I'm going to use some coconut aminos just because that adds such a rich flavor, savory flavor. I can never figure out how to open this bottle. It drives me crazy. Just a couple shakes of that. It's going to be time to flip my sweet potatoes. And then some of this Cajun seasoning. You could use Old Bay, but I'm just kind of loving this Cajun seasoning, so I'm going to use that tonight because I have it and I want to. And this is a thinner sauce because my mayonnaise was a little thinner this time, and I'm not sure why that is. Maybe I didn't put in quite as much oil as normal, or maybe it has to do with that egg. Maybe the egg was somehow different by being a fresh egg. But my mayonnaise was a little thinner, so every sauce I've made with it has been a little thinner. And that's it. I'm going to taste it and see if I like it. I might need to adjust some things a little bit. It's salty. I'm glad I didn't add any other salt because this Cajun seasoning, first ingredient is salt. But I do not think that my fish will be overly seasoned, so it should work out perfectly. Let me show you how they are coming along. They are looking good. And because I don't have too many of them, let's see, what do I use? I think I'll try tongs. I'm going to flip each one over. Sometimes when I'm making a whole bunch of fries, I will just use my spatula and toss around and hope for the best. Hope that I'm really getting them browned on each side. But because I don't have very many, and I have the time, I don't have anything else I need to do right now other than dishes, and I don't want to do the dishes. So I'll just take my time to flip over each of my fries. You see how it is nice and brown on the side that was down on the cookie sheet. And so now I want to flip them so they'll get brown on the other side. And I'm going to add a little more salt. And you know what actually would be good too is my ranch dressing that is on every salad that I've made, because it's the same mayonnaise with some coconut milk and lemon and coconut aminos and dill and chives. So about the only difference is in the seasonings, and it would be really good with this. So you could certainly use that if you happen to have made a batch of that dressing and have it in the fridge and don't feel like making something else. So I'm getting these guys all flipped over. I'm going to switch. I have them on the bottom rack in my oven, and they're, get over there, being nice and brown, and so I'm going to put them in the middle, and I'm going to put my fish sticks on the bottom. And we'll put these back in for 10 more minutes. And I'll just grab out all my veggies that I'm needing to heat up. I'm going to pour my sauce back in here because I just used up my mayonnaise. So I need to put this in the fridge to wait until we're ready. So I'll just pour it back into my jar. Now it's not a mayonnaise jar anymore. It is a tartar sauce jar. And it'll also firm up a little bit in the fridge. And I'll show you the whole dinner when it's all put together. Okay, so everything is ready. It took just about 20 minutes to do my fries and my fish. And I'll show you they browned really nicely on the bottom. Then I flipped them over and they browned really nicely on the other side. And so I have a nice little like fish nugget tonight. They're nice and soft on the inside. This will be great for really young kids. And I did taste my little sample one, and just it seemed like a lot of lemon zest, the zest of an entire lemon in that coating, but it's really mild. You just have a little hint of lemon. So I have these leftover roasted veggies from last night, and I am not in the mood for those, honestly. So I'm going to have just a big old pile of greens. I didn't have a salad for lunch today, so that will be great for me. And I'll have a few of these little fish nuggets and a couple sweet potato fries. If I were going to have French fries, I would rather have regular potato fries. And sometimes I'll make those at home, but But I know the sweet potatoes are better for us. They're so full of vitamin A, and they really don't spike your blood sugar like a white potato does, even though they taste sweet, which is very interesting. So I'm just going to have a few of those. And then I have my sauce here. This is my sort of remoulade type sauce. And then I got out my ranch dressing just so we could have a choice. And I think I'll probably make myself a little pool of both of those. Let me turn my timer off. Yeah, they actually cooked a little faster than I thought they would. So that was my timer going off, so I was a couple minutes ahead. So that's it. This is Whole 30 Day 20. Yay! And I was just looking over the rest of the meals that I had planned out. Before I even started, I made sure I had 30 meals already written down, so I wouldn't get in the middle of this and make a commitment to do these videos and these daily posts and like, I have no ideas for anything to cook. So I was looking over the meals that I have left on my list, and there's good stuff left. So definitely don't give up. We have some great tasty meals coming, like chili and spaghetti and a nut-crusted chicken and Salisbury steak and burgers. All kinds of good stuff is coming. So tonight, enjoy your fish sticks or fish nuggets, sweet potato fries, some veggies, and be proud of yourself that you have made it 20 days. The end is in sight. See you again tomorrow.